Hi, Candice. How are you?
Good. We figured it out.
We did. We made it work. Our test run yesterday was successful. Well, I know you hardly need an introduction. Everyone on here is here to see you. But I just to start us off, I wanted to say, everyone here, Candice Olson, who's the beloved interior designer and creator of the Candice Olson brand of interior products, including wall coverings, textiles, lighting, rugs, and more. She's joining us live from her home studio, which we are just so thrilled for. Her wall coverings continue to be York's most sourced and purchased products all across the globe. So Candice, thanks for joining us today for this one-on-one interview where all of us at York are so excited to have this opportunity to connect with you.
Oh, thanks for having me. It's the first time that I've actually put on pants that don't have an elastic waistband.
Yeah, me too. So how are you doing?
You know what? I guess first and foremost, we're all safe and healthy, and so that social distancing aspect of this seems to be working. You know, that's the good thing. It's interesting. I'm obviously working from home now, which I actually do quite a bit because I love working from home and the quiet of it. Plus, I love our home. It's kind of a little slice of nature in the city. But we also have our two teenagers are here. They're doing online learning, so they're home, and that's been challenging, working and trying to keep them on track and off of TikTok. And then my husband and I, and we actually work quite a bit together, but now that he's home, there's a lot of together, right?
Right.
So it's just a lot of togetherness. And I know I listen to, and I watch some of the news where all these families are on saying, it's such a great time of bonding, and I'm sure we're trying to make the most of it. But I have to tell you a funny story. The other night in my sleep, I literally punched my husband. Like I was dead asleep, just like full on, poof. And then, I don't know what Freud would do with that, but he woke up and he said, what are you doing? I said, I don't know. I just punched you. So there must be something in me that just wants to get out.
I'm sure a lot of people can resonate with that.
Love them, but there's just a lot of togetherness right now.
Yeah, I'm sure everyone can agree.
Totally.
So your brand is represented by many designers and distributors and retailers worldwide. I'm sure all who are watching right now. And how they operate their businesses is far from normal right now. I wonder, how do you feel about how everyone is needing to change the way they do business to adapt to our current situation?
Well, wow. It is, every business grows and evolves and changes over time. And geez, I've been in business over 30 years now. So there's been a lot of change. What is so interesting, I find, about what's going on now and with COVID is that it's been this one big global pause and reset of how we all do business, everybody, all businesses. And it's just been so fascinating. We're in this stay at home, work from home, social distancing world. And as designers, the only way we can stay connected with our customers is digitally and virtually and online. And I have to say, speaking personally, I am a total Neanderthal when it comes to anything to do with technology. That's why I'm late getting on the call. But, I've had to grow opposable thumbs. You know, they're clean, very sanitized thumbs. And I've had to start walking upright, you know, in this digital world. And what I find it's kind of refreshing is that, you know, it's one big learning curve, it's unventured territory, but we're all making mistakes. We're all making mistakes, but learning as we go. It's kind of like we're just all in the 101 stage of how we're all doing business. It's really fascinating how everything has just changed so quickly, but we're all kind of adapting, you know, really quickly. But everybody's in the same boat.
Yeah, that's true. But so on the flip side, where your retailers, designers are learning to connect visually, how can the consumers out there know who to connect with? What's the best way for them to connect with their local designers and retailers?
Well, I think a big misconception, because we have been told to stay home and that businesses are closed, is that they're all closed. And retailers and a lot of showrooms and designers, we're not. We're still open for business. We're just doing business in a very different way. Um, you know, a great example where showrooms, you know, instead of just walking into a showroom, it's a by appointment only. And that's for everyone's benefit so that social distancing measures can be put in place. But the great thing is that everybody is more than willing to help out, you know, with projects, both with the designers and consumers. So businesses are open. You just have to connect with them online or make a phone call, and so that those safe measures are put in place. A lot of times what's happening too is we'll connect online with suppliers or with clients as well, but and sampling right now, getting like a tangible thing in our hands that isn't, you know, on a screen is so important. And suppliers, I mean, I know that's one of the biggest, busiest areas that you're dealing with right now is getting the samples, getting the product into people's hands, you know, for their projects. So designers, retailers, showrooms, they're open. We're just all doing business in a very different way.
Yeah. And I think you basically just answered my next question, because we are such a tactile business. We like to see and touch and feel the products, especially wall coverings, to know, you know, what is it that we're getting to install on our walls and what is our designer trying to source for us. So the fact that you touched on sampling, I think, is so important. And using technology puts a lot of us in these uncharted waters, because our industry is not known for being the most tech advanced. So I think that you touching on sampling is so important, and how people can reach through online.
Completely. And I have to say, one of the big upsides of everybody being home is that everybody's at home and they're spending a lot of time at home.
Right.
So they're seeing what is working in their home, what doesn't work in their home, what brings them joy in their home, what doesn't bring their joy in their home, and what they're looking at the same, you know, four walls. And then people, because you can only eat so much, drink so much, watch so much Netflix, they're looking online digitally as well for inspiration. And it's amazing, the uptick in online searching that we've seen on our social platforms, and how there's this incredible thirst from consumers for change and for design, and how there's these great, I mean, York has got one of the best tools out there as far as you know, seeing a wall covering, seeing it, the scale of it, and seeing it in the vignette. There's just all these people are getting, you know, kind of really excited about the idea of change because they really want it. They've never spent more time in their homes than they have now.
Yeah.
That's a good thing.
That's a great thing for all of us
For
in
us.
wall coverings. Yeah. So for some projects for designers, they're probably looking a little different right now. What do you see happening?
Well, we're right in the middle of a big residential, it's very diversified residential and commercial project that will take us out a couple of years, but we always look a couple of years down the road. So right now, in addition to that project, we're doing a lot of designing and planning for down the road so that we can get everything approved on paper. And the idea is that because when restrictions lift, however that's going to happen, we want to be ready. We want to hit the ground running because there is going to be such a backlog in from everything from building permits. I can't even believe what a mess the building permit office is going to be. But from building permits to furnishings to appliances, we really think there is going to be a backlog. So we're trying to do all that preliminary planning and ideally pre-ordering so that we can have everything in place to get going because clients are tired of the project just sitting there being stalled. So
Right.
we're trying to get as much as we can in the office done so that as soon as everything is over or as things slowly are over or back to whatever normal, we can start getting our clients the projects underway and getting them motivated again.
Yeah, we're seeing that too. I mean, we're in wall coverings at York. We're seeing people ordering their samples and reserving some of the stock so that they can have it for later.
Oh,
So people are using different elements when designing spaces. Some products are easier to access than others during this time. Other product types like can be on hiatus a little bit. It seems that wall coverings are continuing to be sourced. Why do you think that is over other categories?
um, I think with everything in such a limbo right now, projects really are kind of stalled because we don't have either the shipments coming in or labor. I think wall coverings are different because we can still source them. You're still shipping. And because it's such a low manpower, meaning an easy labor to practice social distancing, it's one of those easier type of installations to get underway. And what I love when we can't finish up the kitchen or we can't get the furnishings in, or right now custom is so backlogged, custom anything, our poor cabinetry company, when where everything is so backlogged there, it's just a great way of kind of giving clients that quick adrenaline shot, of design, and it gives them that instant impact. So I think it's just that wonderful tool to keep them excited and show them that the project's on track and keep things rolling. Things that aren't working, I keep going back to anything custom right now. We're actually helping out. The problem with custom is the shops, because there's only maybe 2 or 3 guys working, but the problem is they keep making and now they can't ship anything out because the installers, when you have a big installation team, they can't do that. So that's where everything's just getting stuck. We're actually helping. Our garage looks like an Amazon holding station. We just are shipping everything. We've got tiles and tubs and fabric and wall covering. And then our kitchen cabinetry guy, we helped him out because he needed to move out some cabinetry because he couldn't install it someplace else. And we said, okay, if you work on our stuff or our project, we'll store. It's like that cliche of we're all in it together. We are, but we're all trying to, again, we're just figuring it out as we go. But
Yeah.
with wall covering, that to me that's that great sizzle. You can still keep the project going and the clients are like, oh my gosh, the wallpaper went up and I love it and this is great. Unfortunately, we don't have a kitchen.
Yeah. But my walls are beautiful.
Yeah.
Oh, so well, while none of us can predict the future, what do you project what we might see looking ahead?
You know what? I was saying I started in my business, geez, when the earth was cooling. And I've seen a lot of, adversity. We saw the Gulf War, we saw 9/11, we saw 2008, and we managed to make it through, those sorts of times. So I think as much as, there's uncertainty, these times, with these times come, I think, incredible opportunity for businesses to really prosper as long as they're nimble and they're creative. I started off on my own business during a recession, and I was working for a large commercial company, and I thought, I can give the client great service, great design, and probably for better value. And that became my calling card. So, I think these can be really exciting times. Like I say, I think going forward for residential work, people are pent up, and they are, like I say, they've never spent more time in their homes than they have now. They know every last square inch of it. With all of these design tools, literally a click away, and inspiration. I think that they're excited to get going as well. So I think it's going to be a real burst open. All the projects kind of, gaining momentum again, but residential work, I think, is going to be very, very exciting. And businesses, if they're nimble, if they're creative, and honestly, if I can navigate this whole digital world, I'm a monkey at this stuff, and we're figuring it out. We're doing the ordering, we're sending our clients drawings, sketches online, digitally. They print them out so they have them in front of them. We're giving them duplicate or sending duplicate samples to them. So I'm doing a whole Zoom presentation to them. And I'll be honest, I never thought I would say this. I actually find the whole face-to-face virtual meeting aspect with clients, it's much more efficient now. Well, now, especially since they're home, because I know where they are. They're not commuting to the office. They're available, and they're excited about, well, they were always excited, but more available and involved, and decisions are getting made, really quickly. It's just been really interesting that it's much more efficient, and it's so much easier to get a hold of people.
Yeah. Yeah. You know where they're at.
Right. It's kind of cool.
It's an exciting time I think, for design, for consumers, for the designers to take advantage of the opportunity that people are loving their homes or not loving their homes.
Loving, both. Either way. And the whole way of doing business like this, I can't tell you, I live in Toronto. Toronto is gridlock all the time. To schedule a face-to-face meeting is so challenging. Now, schedules aside, but this is instantaneous, and it's so exciting. And then just even to start projects, where we've got, we want to get clients inspired, or to nail down a style directive, we just send them a private Pinterest board and some pictures, past projects, some sketches. And what would have taken us 2 weeks to kind of coordinate is done in a matter of minutes. It's really kind of cool. So I can't believe I'm saying that.
Well, those were my questions that I outlined. But as you know, I asked for a lot of your fans, both design community and design enthusiasts, to submit their questions. So I went through and picked a few that I thought were pretty compelling. Do you mind if I ask you a few of those?
Oh,
all right.
Shoot.
Okay, so first up was Carrie Hodge. She's a designer with Sherwin-Williams. And she asked—
Oh, Sherwin-Williams, we love them.
She asked, how did you get into designing wall covering for York?
Oh, gosh. So I've been at York now, I think this is for 15 some odd years, and I think we've done about that many collections. So typically what happens with any sort of a licensing relationship is that your custom work that you're doing for clients kind of finds its way as a launch or the core of a collection that a manufacturer will do under a licensed label. That's certainly the case with say with furniture and lighting and whatnot. But what was interesting 15 odd years ago with York, because you don't walk in with a custom wall coverings and say yes, but I remember saying to Gina, I think it was at the time, Gina, I don't really do a lot of wall coverings. What I do is wall art. And so I explained to her that, our calling card were wall finishes with these special effects, these wonderful pearlized plasters and kind of diamond sprinkled dusts and dimensional effects and wonderful subtle patterns that we would bring in a team of artisans. Or I could have joked and said it was they look like they're handmade by Tibetan monks, silent Tibetan monks. Like, so it was this whole, like, I loved watching these rooms evolve with these artists, but that meant ka-ching, 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 ka-ching. Right?
Yeah.
So I said, like, this is what I think of wall coverings. It's wall coverings as art. And is there any way that we could get this kind of effect and look in a mass manufactured wall covering? And that was the challenge. So I didn't think we could, but you guys did. And
with you.
that was the recipe. It was, so it started with a kind of a non-wallpaper way of doing wallpaper.
Yeah.
That was 15 years ago.
And it's been a constant collaboration since. So it's been wonderful.
It was, I think, Jean, I remember coming in with like little bits, and way back in the day, I used to do, to pay my student loan from design school, I would do faux finishing at night. And so this whole idea of, I would bring in these crazy samples of things that I had done, or even like little, somehow I fell in love with the foil on this gum wrapper. And I remember saying, could we do a metallic kind of like this little gum wrapper? And so I don't think poor Gina and Vanessa, and I think they just kind of thought, okay. But,
yeah. Well, Velocity came out of that, maybe.
Yes.
That's one of your patterns, right?
Oh my gosh. I just saw Velocity on Candice Olson wallpapers on Instagram. Someone installed Velocity, which is a very graphic grill pattern, black with a foil backing on it. They installed it in this beautiful room with a ton of windows. And I love, when I get pictures of installations, I love it. And I just saw it online on Instagram, and I get a little weak in the knees and my knickers flutter a bit on that one. So yeah.
Yeah, that's great. So one other question. Well, this was actually a lot of questions I kind of combined into one. It seemed that a lot of people are wondering about selecting wallpaper for their spaces. And in particular, there were a lot of questions about making an impact with wall coverings in smaller spaces, like powder rooms or any kind of small little niche. And they were saying in small spaces, do you feel it's best to use small patterns or large patterns? And do you suggest one wall or all to achieve the maximum impact?
Just like, I mean, with wall coverings, I think the process of selecting it in general can be pretty daunting for, a lot of consumers. And because you have to first look at, style. Is it classic, contemporary? What sort of feeling do you want to evoke in the space? Is it dramatic? Is it soothing? So there's all these kind of variables. I think, and I keep going back to the yorkwallcoverings.com site, because I go there and look at when I'm looking for wall coverings. I'll peruse sort of the style that I'm after, but and seeing the pattern is one thing, which I think the website's great at showing the intricacies of the pattern. But being able to click for every single color and seeing that pattern in that color used in a room vignette, where you see the scale of that pattern in relation to something as simple as a chair or a table, you automatically understand the scale so much better. I think those sorts of tools are in general are just invaluable. The fact that you can click and get a sample sent is fantastic as well. And I think that's really important, particularly if you're looking at my wall coverings, because seeing them online, this is the only thing I can't believe I'm preaching digital and online stuff, upside down and backwards. The only bad thing about seeing something online is that you can't see the nuances of the special effect inks, or some of the backings, the metallics, the pearls. You don't experience that. So that's why you do need to see the sample. So you can see that the way that how light hits the surface of it pulls up, those special effects. So I think in general, there's just no better tool out there than that tool for selecting wall coverings in general. In powder rooms or small spaces, I love powder rooms. Powder rooms are that crazy space in the house where you think about it. You're only in there for, a short while. It's not like you need to do makeup. It's not like there's any a real problem with water and humidity. They should be the jewels of your home, the surprises. If you're going to take a risk anywhere in your home, that's the spot to do it. So I love making these statement powder rooms. You can be dark and dramatic because it can be moody, and it's just, oh my gosh, they're so fantastic. When it comes to scale in a smaller space like a powder room, like anywhere, you want it to be able to be a scale where you can read it as it goes across the wall. I'm going to say plural, because in a small space, I don't think you want to just do it on one wall, but you need to see enough of a repeat of the pattern for the pattern to tell the story. And so typically that means in a powder room, all four walls. But then mirror the ceiling, put up incredible thick crown molding, a gorgeous chandelier. So you've got like the drama when you're sitting down below and you look up and oh my gosh. Or behind the vent, if it's a pedestal sink, an entire floor to ceiling mirror behind that pedestal sink with this incredible wall covering behind. I saw another one online too, our Flourish, which is, I can't pull up my book now, but it's almost an exploding dandelion and seed type of pattern.
I have it.
I saw somebody, where'd you go?
Look, I have it.
Oh my gosh. I saw somebody do this again, because I stalked myself, I guess. I saw somebody do that in a powder room above wainscoting, and it's a you would think, oh, that's a larger scale pattern, and even with the wainscoting, you see a little bit less of it. Oh my gosh, it was so beautiful and dramatic. It just looked like the subtle sort of firework pattern all over. So
yes, beautiful pattern.
The only time I would do, when you're talking about doing one wall, I love doing a feature wall, especially in a room where there's, it's that room where you walk in and every room needs a focal point, and sometimes there's just nothing. So in a bedroom or a living room where you want something as that draws your attention to an area and anchors the room, that's where I love to do a feature wall. Could be bold, could be the jumping off point for the whole space, particularly in a bedroom, and the focal point should be the bed, but it's such a fantastic way of adding impact to a bedroom behind the bed. So we do a lot of main walls in our collections where we'll have more of an impact pattern, and then all of our coordinate coverings to go with that as well, because that impact pattern may be too much impact in the bedroom. Same thing with living rooms. A great way of kind of grounding a sofa and just having something that grabs your attention. But I wouldn't do one wall in smaller spaces. So that's a long answer for one question.
No, that's a great, I mean, I'm sure everyone's going to get a lot of information and insights out of that. So that's wonderful. Another hot topic that came in was about lighting. And actually, forgive me, I'm going to read, and I apologize if I'm pronouncing any names wrong, but Patricia Barrientos Chunga from Peru asked about
Oh,
the importance of illumination in interior design. And Michelle Chalette in Delanco, New Jersey said, your wall coverings are gorgeous, which we all agree. How would you suggest lighting them to get maximum impact?
oh my gosh. Oh, Peru. That's okay. I was going to Machu Picchu with some girls this October, and it may not happen, but we're putting it off, and we're still going. So, oh my, I was so looking forward to it. Lighting. Anyone that knows me from my shows knows that that was a big part of what I really wanted to showcase in the overall design concept. I've said it a million times. It doesn't matter how much time or energy or money or what you have in the space. If the lighting isn't good lighting, then it is completely wasted. And when it comes to lighting of the space, that entails layers of lighting. So table lights, sconces, overhead fixtures, feature pendants, and that's what creates the drama and the interest. If you just have one big bright white light source in the middle of your room, you are Walmart. And we don't want to live in Walmart. So lighting is always key, and especially with the positioning. I get asked this a lot about positioning of recessed fixtures or overhead ceiling mounted fixtures, whether it's a track or ideally recessed. And this is where I think a lot of design, when you're planning new construction, goes horribly wrong, because a lot of lighting plans are done to light the floor or light the air. When you light everything, you kind of light nothing. So I positioned the recessed lighting so that it is lighting elements in the space. So it's art, architectural detailing, the fireplace, and it's typically I have an adjustable fixture. That looks creepy, but that's my code for adjustable fixtures. So an adjustable fixture that positioned about 18 inches away from the wall. So I hug up towards the wall so that it can rake down the surface of drapery and pull up the blinds. And when it comes to wall coverings, particularly mine that are so driven by the way light reacts on the surface, that's what makes glass beads come to life. That's what makes the dimensional, I've got goosebumps just talking about it. What brings up, whether it's, think of a textured stone wall, or some of the textures on our wall coverings. When that light is positioned close to the wall and rakes down, it creates the light and shadow, and that's what brings the whole wall covering to life. Our pearl inks, our metallics, the same thing. So lighting is so key. You've got a beautiful wall covering, ding, thank you. But it's the lighting that brings it to life. I always say your home is like it can be like a theater. When you go to the theater, until those lights come up and all the special effects, and like that's what makes the stage come to life. Things might be beautiful, sure, but it's the lighting that really makes it, and the beautiful wall coverings.
Yeah.
But it's a great question. I think I was really proud that we really focused on that on our show. I brought on my crazy electrician that people loved. And I remember the producers of the show saying, I don't think, people are just concerned about paint and furniture. And I said, no, I really want to get that across. And we did.
Good. Well, we're all going to be checking our lighting after we get off of here. But so looking ahead, a lot of questions were focused on what inspires you today. So what do you see in your magic 8-ball, Candice? And one question in particular was from Brenda Smith with Interiors by Design in Florida. And she said she sold a lot of your metallics last year, which great job, Brenda. And where do you see metallics going in the future?
That's certainly a signature, I think, of all the collections, and what's being part of the secret sauce, frankly, and for the success of our collections at York. When I I'll kind of break, because when people think of metallics, so that could be a bright silver, bright gold, and then we've got these more muted metallic effects and inks. As a broad sort of approach to the wall covering collection, we always start when I'm thinking of patterns. I want a pattern that is something that is classic. It could be let's say a paisley or a floral, and that everyone kind of recognizes that. And I think that's important because that brings, when something's familiar, it brings comfort. And I think what else we want in our homes, like I'm speaking in general terms, like across 15 some odd collections. So there's always that comfort factor, that familiarity, and something that's a classic pattern. But what we do with that classic, with the roots of that classic pattern, is then we start to reinvent it and stylize it. It might be scale, we might pare it down, abstract it. So now we've got something very new with that pattern, but then it's the, and my palettes tend to be very soft, muted, nature-inspired palettes that also give some longevity. So I've got a pattern that's got longevity. I've got a palette that has longevity and value. Then it's those special effects, I think, that make it special and new and current. So it'll take something that is rooted in the past, but make it very current and contemporary and today. And that's where I think those metallics have always been and will continue to be very important. You'll see it, but we're softening them up a little bit, but it depends. We've got some very, like, Velocity is probably our boldest, it's very high contrast, and you'll see a real sheen, but it's a contrast of a matte ink with the sheen of that metallic. Some of our other patterns might be a metallic or just a pearl veining, like perhaps in onyx, which was one of our top sellers, a beautiful onyx stone inspired wall covering, where it's just this very subtle. We did a commercial version of it for MDC as well, a subtle gold veining. Oh my gosh, it was stunning. So I think that's just what adds that contemporary element to something that's rooted in the past. So thank you for selling lots, and you're going to sell lots in the future.
Okay, so Linda Finkel also, well, she's from Boca Raton, asked what probably everyone wants to know, what is coming out this year? And to expand on that, while you're on that topic, how do you get inspiration for what you're expanding on this year?
Oh gosh, so we were what do we call it now? Pre-C, like PC, pre-COVID. We were working on a few collections, both for wall coverings and for our fabric collection as well. And we had really focused on this real cultural shift to well-being and mindfulness. And for me, which has always been such a huge source of inspiration, this connection with nature, how it makes you feel, how those indirect connections, how they make you feel, how you can capture or bring well-being into your home, or that sense of well-being through nature and its elements. And that was pre-COVID. Then COVID, blammo, stopped and pressed, this pause button. And we're in various development stages with that in mind. And I honestly, I cannot see a bigger direction going forward. Because if you think about it, we've all been told to stay inside. And the only connection, we don't have a connection with nature. I mean, and it really takes a toll. That 1 or 2 times a day where you might be able to just go outside. And I've talked to, everyone I know says the same thing. And I have to tell you, we feel so blessed to live where we do, because if it wasn't for living here, I certainly would not be as healthy mentally as I feel. But just the feeling that connecting with nature brings you. I don't think we've been more connected to that than ever before. People
Yeah.
are just getting this sense of joy and relief and relaxation and rejuvenation from nature. So what we were doing pre-COVID, we are hitting certainly on stride because all of those collections will be coming out. Wonderful fantasy, nature inspired prints, skin florals. We were so excited about it before, but I can't. I can't see a time where this is going to resonate more going forward. You know what, being connected with nature and all of its elements are going to mean for how we're going to enjoy our lives post COVID.
Yeah. Oh, that's great. And so I know for York, we have a collection coming out in the fall of this year.
And yeah, we have one collection coming out. We're already working on the one after that, which will incorporate more of those elements. And then we have, I don't know if we can talk about.
You can probably leak it a little bit here with everybody watching.
So I know we're going to do in a couple of weeks. I don't know, Deanna.
Yep, a couple of weeks.
We'll be showcasing. I don't want to give it away, but we're taking some of our best-selling patterns, and there will come to the market. Help me out, in a way that is never seen before with those patterns, but a completely new and very accessible way.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's all I can say.
So everyone has to stay tuned. We are going to be, Candice and I will probably be having a chat later in the month where we're going to talk about the big reveal. So there is something exciting that we're cooking up right now. I know all of you are just going to love it. So to wrap up our interview today, thank you so much for all of your time. But Tracy Ho, a designer with Black Bloom Studio in Toronto.
Oh, yay!
Asked, what brings you the greatest joy when it comes to your career?
Oh gosh, I think that kind of changes depending on, or that would have changed depending on where I am at my career at any given time. Back when I first started out, I was just really happy when we completed a project, the client loved it, and they paid their invoice. Yay! That was always a good sign. But I loved and still love when a client reaches out and I always say that design is such an incredibly powerful tool, and it can change people's lives. And I always tell the story. We're very good friends with a heart surgeon, and I always have this argument with him whose job is more important. Sure, you may save lives, but I make life worth living. But especially in the renovation market, people will live in their homes with their families for years, and and sure, they know it's not working for them, but when we come in and do what we do, and I say we in general, designers, architects, contractors, when we bring our expertise and we remake the way their lives work over. When I have a client phone me and say, I'm sitting having a cup of tea and it's a Sunday morning and the sun is, pouring in and it's exactly as you said it was going to be. And this just works so beautifully. And I don't know how we lived for so long without having this. I love that. I love that. And then today you see when I go through and I'm seeing, because I'm doing some online searching too, when I see installations or of our product, I just find that it's like seeing your children like everywhere.
Yeah.
It's such a cool thing. When I saw Velocity on installed in that way, and I thought, wow, that is awesome. And then I see Inner Beauty, this one of my favorite patterns, and every time I see it installed like a completely different room and done as panel mold, I love that feel. It's so, for this sort of work, seeing it used by designers in so many creative ways is incredibly rewarding. I also think there's many things that bring me, I feel, I think finding and this is especially for working parents. I'll wrap it up by saying I love that I have two teenage kids that are normal, and I've managed to have a business and achieve a certain amount of success while still being able to be a parent and finding some balance. And there wasn't always that way. It's not like there's no parenting book, that's coming out. There's been a lot of hot dogs. But that to me is, because life isn't just about work. So that brings me great joy that, they're still teenagers. Who knows? Like the poop could still hit the fan.
Yeah.
But, so far so good. I'm doing okay at my career, and I'm doing okay with the kids.
Yeah. Well, I will say a testament to your reach. It's hard not to watch all of the comments coming in and streaming in from below, but to see everyone reaching out from Italy and Latin America and every state nationwide. It's very, very cool. And we just adore you, Candice. You're wonderful. And we love representing you, manufacturing your line for you.
There's my heart going up on the side there.
So
awesome.
Thank you so much for your time today.
Okay, bye. Be safe, everybody.
Bye.
Ciao, ciao. Ciao, ciao.